Administrator does not have the control of process of coercion in Nigeria. The president that is empowered by the constitution to restore law and order in any part of the country. The governor doesn't have the power. Talk less of a sole administrator. His appointment is unknown to the constitution. So he took a note under what section of the constitution?
Rivers State, an oil-rich region in southern Nigeria, has long been a center of political power, economic wealth, and ethnic diversity. But in recent years, the state has found itself at the epic center of political storm. At the heart of this storm, a fierce rivalry between two powerful political figures, Nyesom Wike and Fubara, his handpicked successor. Nyesom Wike, who served as the governor of Rivers State from 2015 to 2023, is a figure that cannot be ignored in Nigerian politics. Known for his strong-willed, often combative nature, Wike quickly rose to prominence during his first term, securing his place as a key political force. As the governor, Wike built a massive political machine with loyalists across the state and cemented his status as an influential member of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP.
A tiger doesn't give birth to a sheep. I hope you know that. Governor Wike is a tiger. What he stands and what he supports definitely will be a tiger. Is it not? You call him tiger because he has given you road. He didn't come to talk and talk and talk without performing. You call him tiger because he has given you security. Is it not? You call him tiger because he has given you good school. School that your sister's son pushed down. He gave you back the school. Is it not? Now he has brought another tiger. The tiger that will continue from where he stops.
When it was time for Wike to step down, he chose Fubara, his former ally and commissioner for finance, as his successor. Fubara, seen by many as Wike's prodigy, was the candidate who would continue the governor's policies and his political influence in Rivers State. The election of 2023 seemed to be a straightforward transition. But what should have been a smooth political transition soon descended into turmoil. Fubara's election as governor was celebrated, but his victory was overshadowed by a growing rift between him and his political godfather, Nyesom Wike.
I told you, the members of assembly will not lose their seat. Have they lost their seat? I told you that shenanigan, they said they were doing local government election, it will not stand. Is it there today? I don't need to be a governor. I don't need to. I know what's illegal is illegal. In any fight, we'll fight it constitutionally and by following due process.
Despite being chosen by Wike, Fubara found himself at the center of a power struggle that would engulf Rivers State. While the public largely expected Fubara to follow Wike's footsteps, the early months of his tenure revealed something else. Fubara began to show signs of wanting to establish his own political identity, distancing himself from Wike's influence.
The honor of fighting gallantly, being on the side of truth, not on the side of lies because of cheap favor. I want to assure you, all our supporters, I know the news that broke out on Friday must have dampened your spirit. Brace up. What is ahead is more than what we just passed.
This shift in dynamics was not taken kindly by Wike, who, having shaped the political landscape of Rivers State for nearly a decade, believed his influence over the state should continue. Tensions between the two grew as Fubara made key political decisions that Wike did not support. The rivalry between the two became public, with political observers and party members taking sides. Wike, a powerful force within the People's Democratic Party, was determined not to lose his grip on the state's political machinery. His supporters accused Fubara of trying to assert independence too soon, while Fubara's camp insisted he was simply trying to govern without external interference. The rift reached its peak when the Rivers State House of Assembly was dragged into the dispute. Allegations of corruption and political maneuvering began to emerge, with accusations that both Wike and Fubara were working behind the scenes to manipulate the legislature and state institutions for their own benefits. As these political tensions grew, it became clear that the state was on the verge of a full-scale political crisis. The political tensions between Nyesom Wike and Siminalayi Fubara grew more intense, and it became clear that the crisis in Rivers State was spiraling out of control. President Bola Tinubu stepped in with a direct approach. He understood the delicate balance of power in the region and the political consequences of a full-blown political war. In an attempt to prevent a further instability, President Tinubu called for an emergency meeting with both Wike and Fubara at the presidential villa in Abuja just months into Fubara's tenure. The meeting, which took place in the heart of Nigerian's political power, was the first real attempt at mediation between the two men. President Tinubu, aware of Wike's significant political influence and Fubara's fragile hold on power, urged both leaders to set aside their differences for the sake of Rivers State and Nigeria as a whole. His goal was simple: to avert a situation that could escalate into broader chaos and potentially threaten the national security of the country. However, the atmosphere was tense. Wike, the political titan of Rivers State, was not ready to relinquish his dominance over the state's political machinery. He had spent years consolidating power, and his reluctance to allow Fubara to govern without interference was evident. On the other hand, Fubara, though loyal to Wike, had begun to assert his independence, eager to govern in his own right. But in this meeting, the former governor's shadow loomed large over the new leader. President Tinubu urged both men to find common ground. He spoke about the importance of governance, stability, and unity, not only for the people of Rivers State, but also for the unity of Nigeria. He made it clear that political fights, if allowed to continue, would not only damage Rivers State's future, but could also undermine the nation's broader progress. Yet, despite Tinubu's diplomatic efforts, the meeting failed to produce any lasting resolution. Wike's insistence on maintaining influence and Fubara's desire for autonomy left little room for compromise. Both men left the meeting with no agreement in place, and the political Cold War between them only intensified in the days that followed. As the rift between Wike and Fubara deepened, it became evident that the federal government's intervention was no longer a matter of negotiation, but of necessity for some who believed in the move of the federal government. The situation in Rivers State had become volatile, with both political camps accusing each other of corruption, manipulation, and betrayal. The crisis was now threatening the state's stability, as alleged by the federal government, and by extension, the stability of the entire country. On the 18th day of March 2025, President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, citing the growing political and security instability in the state as the primary reasons for the intervention. In his official statement, President Tinubu explained that the ongoing political conflict between Wike and Fubara had led to a breakdown in governance, creating an environment of lawlessness and disorder. This in turn jeopardized the peace and security of the citizens of Rivers State.
Having soberly reflected on and evaluated the political situation in Rivers State, and the governor and deputy governor of Rivers State having failed to make a request to me as president to issue this proclamation as required by Section 305, Paragraph 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, it has become inevitably compelling for me to invoke the provision of the Section 305 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to declare a state of emergency in Rivers State with effect from today, 18th March, year 2025.
According to President Bola Tinubu, the decision to evoke emergency rule was driven by the need to restore law and order, protect the lives of citizens, and ensure that the political chaos did not spill over into greater instability across the entire region. The president also emphasized that Rivers State, being a key contributor to Nigeria's oil revenue, was critical to the country's economy, and any disruption in the state could have far-reaching consequences for the nation's stability. The declaration of emergency rule was a decisive move by the federal government. Under this rule, the administration suspended states' local governance structures, including the executive and legislative arms of government. In effect, all major political decisions were transferred to the federal government, and the state was placed under direct federal control. As part of the emergency measures, President Bola Tinubu appointed a sole administrator to take control of the administration of Rivers State, who at the moment is Vice Admiral Ibok Eketibas. These appointments effectively dissolved the state government, sidelining Fubara in the process. The sole administrator was tasked with overseeing the affairs of the state, ensuring the government ran efficiently and re-establishing law and order in the state. The appointment of Vice Admiral Ibok Eketibas as the sole administrator was a highly controversial move. Critics of the federal government argue that it was unconstitutional, stripping Rivers State of its democratic autonomy.
The administrator does not have the control of the forces of coercion in Nigeria. It is the president that is empowered by the constitution to restore law and order in any part of the country. The governor doesn't have the power, talk less of a sole administrator, whose appointment is unknown to the constitution. He said he took an oath under what section of the constitution? The man said, I'm taking an oath under the constitution. Were you appointed by the constitution? Were you elected by the constitution? Please, let's not politicize what is clearly a legal matter. If we are not careful, what stops the president from saying, oh, there is crisis in the southwest or in the entire southeast?
However, for the federal government, it was seen as a necessary step to restore peace and prevent further political violence that could destabilize the entire region.
President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, yesterday took the bull by the horn to do what was required of a statesman, a patriot, and head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Events in Rivers State started a long time ago, and many times he tried to intervene. Apart from that, well-meaning Nigerians, leaders of thought, concerned citizens have also attempted to settle the matter without any result. The president came out boldly yesterday to say the situation cannot be allowed to continue.
Despite the federal government's best efforts, the decision to appoint a sole administrator was met with mixed reactions. Some members of Tinubu's government hope it will bring peace and stability, while critics fear it was a step backward for democracy in Nigeria.
Find the governor wanting, and which the assembly has taken this particular step in the circumstance. However, it is not just about raising up these allegations. It is about proving these allegations to be true in the circumstance. And until they are able to prove these allegations to be true in the circumstance, there are procedures to impeachment. It is not about waking up in the morning to say, oh, we want to impeach the governor must be impeached and all that.
The people of Rivers State now had come to terms with the reality of direct federal intervention. President Bola Tinubu made it clear that his administration will not tolerate political instability that threatens national security by a certain federal authority over Rivers State. These have sent a strong message that the federal government will step in when governance falters, irrespective of stance of democracy in the country. Upon the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State, many Nigerians and politicians fears that President Bola Tinubu is being impartial on his handling of the Rivers State crisis. For so many, Wike is being protected by the president, and there's also a worry that this might be a new era of dictatorship in Nigeria. The question remains, if the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State was declared based on the interest of the people of Rivers and for peace of the nation, or just so that Nyesom Wike, the former governor of Rivers State, who is now a close ally and works under the cabinet of President Bola Tinubu just to protect his personal interests, or for the federal government and the APC government to have full control of one of the richest states and a political swing states in the country. These are questions in the minds of many in the country, and paying attention to the current role that a sole administrator in Rivers State is playing. One that even the NBA, the Nigerian Bar Association, have also questioned if he has all the right to carry out some of the assignment that he is carrying out at the moment in Rivers State. A lot of questions in the minds of millions of Nigerians and even politicians who are not of the APC stock.
That things I would have mentioned here for you to know the elementary cause of this crisis. You know, everything I mentioned, I show you evidence. I would have also opened my phone to show you on the beginning of October 2023, where they had approached me with a bribe of 5 billion naira. It's there on my phone.
Yeah, there's one.
But impeachment. It is dated. The date is here. It's here. I have the record and I printed it and distributed it.
As the dust settles, Rivers State remains in limbo. Why some see the sole administrator as temporal fix, others worry about the long-term implications for the state's autonomy. What happens next would depend on how the factions within the states evolve and how the people of Rivers State respond to the change imposed upon them. Rivers State's political future hangs in the balance, with the legacy of Wike's influence still looming large, and the fragile peace brought by the sole administrator's appointment. The road to stability will not be easy. Only time will tell if Rivers State can recover from this political crisis and chart a new course for its future. With a 6-month emergency rule now in place, the question is, do you think Wike will regain control of Rivers State once the suspension ends? Or is this the beginning of the end for Fubara's political career? This is where we draw the curtain on this documentary. If you found this compelling, do well to hit the like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and as well drop a comment on what you think of the role of the president in the crisis going on in Rivers State. You can as well check out some other videos that we have on this channel. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video on Frank's Mix.